example of setting the public up, saying, "Hey, look what you have to look forward to."
Isn't that scary to even give it a thought? The thing is, I was listening to another show here over the weekend, and this one scientist said, "Really, come on, we don't have the technology to back engineer these craft, let alone we don't have the metals or the way to create their metals on Earth to make the UFOs or their starships like what theirs was." And when you really think about it, we probably don't, or the technology to do it. So back engineer, it's like if I gave you back in 1916, right, a 2020 Corvette and said, "Hey, reproduce this." Hell would freeze over before you could even begin to figure any of it really out.
Well, you make a good point. There are more, the computer that you have in your cell phone is more sophisticated than what they used to go to the moon back in the 60s.
Oh, yeah.
So you make a good point. I think that there very well may be a case for them. When I say them, various alien groups with various agendas, just like what that gentleman told me about the meeting that took place back in 1964. There very well may have been technology that was given, not that we created, that was given to us with, specifics and materials that we know nothing about that could be stored away who knows where, because God knows they've got enough places to put things like that. So that we could, in fact, be manufacturing with a set of blueprints and a set of materials that were given to us. That may be the case, but as far as it being of earthly origin, I question that big time.
Well, why, instead of us giving us blueprints, why don't they just give us the craft along with the instruction manual, let alone maybe a group of people or aliens to train our people how to fly them? But you think they're going to give us the state of art? I wouldn't. Like us, our country, you think when we supply another country with weapons, we give them the state-of-the-art weapons? We give them stuff that's a couple generations behind. The reason
why. Absolutely. No, you make a good point. I think that probably what they have is far more sophisticated, or what they've given us is far more sophisticated than what the public is aware of in general. But as far as it being the creme de la creme, the first line, stuff, so to speak, ain't going to happen. Nope.
Well, yeah, but look at it. If I sat there and gave you, for example, all the technology, right? But I didn't give you the latest technology, and all of a sudden you got this technology, and you say, "Screw you, Gary," right? And you think now you're king, what, because you have this technology. And then you try to start a fight with me, and I go to myself, God, they're stupid. I'm going to push this button and show them how stupid they are.
Well, in that case, you would have cards that you didn't show, and I think that's probably the case.
Well, yeah, I just think about, you get into these underground bases like in North Carolina, which, Mary Joyce says, that, well, they are sharing technology with aliens. And these aliens don't really like humans. But they do love us, but not in the biblical sense. They love us in the, you know what I'm saying? Pass the ketchup and barbecue sauce, James.
Up behind 57, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, why would Casey have told Reagan how dangerous that group was if it wasn't the case? I mean, and he said they were carnivorous. So, that information has been around for a long time.
Yeah, I just don't want to find out. That's the scary part. It's so many weird things going on right now. We have the global warming. We're being lied to about our economy. We're being lied to about, and everything. And then you got these big companies coming into Washington and Oregon and buying water rights like mad. Why do they need water rights other than they know in the future, like 10, 15 years from now, water is going to be worth its weight in gold. And if they control the water, they control the population, don't they?
You control life.
Yeah.
You control animal life, you control human life, you control all of it.
Yeah, you know what? They're not going to think about the little people at that point. Hey, you want a bottle of water? Hey, $50 a bottle. You don't have it? Oh, well, that's your problem.
Yeah. Well, how long can we last without water? What, 72 hours?
Well, not very long. You can go, depending on how big you are, you can go a week or 2 or 3 without eating. You certainly can't go without drinking.
Cannot go without water, though. Yeah, exactly.
Scary. So I got a funny feeling we are being visited. I do think that I just don't buy the part, Tom, that these aliens are friendly towards humans and just want to help us. If they are, they certainly could give us ideas of what we should be doing about Antarctica, the sea rises, what's going on with, our mammals on our planet, our animals, why everything is getting... Something is going on because it's just a whole bunch. It's like you got a big pot cooking on the stove and you're just throwing stuff into it. And at one point, it comes to the point where, you can't put anything more in it. And there's a lot of stuff going on right now. And you know what?
Well, I think... Good.
I just say, here we have somebody in the government, it's... Okay, here's the thing. You overspend, right? Big time. And you take the budget and you blow it all out. Well, you know what? If you don't tax the big corporations and you let them get away with it, then you look at, okay, well, the average Joe is going to pay the taxes. And when they can't cover the taxes because of what's happening, then they look at me and you who are on Social Security, Medicare, all that stuff, or people that are disabled. And we say, oh, well, you know what? We'll just cut some of that out. And it's scary because you know what? Yeah, that's not plugging the hole. Let's face it.
When you have a corporate oligarchy mindset that is running the planet, they don't care about Gary, Tom, James. They don't care about Social Security. They don't care about Medicare, Medicaid. They don't care how much it costs you to get your prescriptions filled. They don't care if you have to make a choice between paying your mortgage and getting food. They really don't. And I think, unfortunately, you're talking about something that is extremely sinister, extremely diabolical. It's extremely self-serving. It's what some people call evil. And I think, unfortunately, you're talking about a global sinister mindset that has something up its sleeve that is not going to be considered productive by James, Gary, or Tom.
Well, I can talk all about it, and you think it's going to do any good? You think people are going to write to the congressman and to the senators or whoever? They don't do it. They just, and then they cry. Well, they cry when it happens. And then they go, oh, my God, how am I going to pay my mortgage? How am I going to keep my house? How am I going to buy my medicine? How can I go to the doctor? And then you're going to find a lot of people passing on way early because they can't get any medical treatments. Think about that.
I wrote a letter to a Washington state senator who shall remain nameless and basically asked her about the very thing that we're talking about tonight. And the letter I got back didn't answer one of the questions that I asked. It totally talked around it, and that's what politicians do. Didn't answer my question, didn't really address the issue or issues that I presented. And that's standard operating procedure, and that's why, if some people say, well, Tom, you're a total cynic. I'm not a total cynic, but I am extremely cynical of both the right and the left and people that stand on these platforms and say, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And it doesn't matter what party you're with. They can't deliver it, number one. Number two, people have to ask themselves, how do these people get into the positions of power that they're in to begin with? And I could name you several presidents, and I won't, but basically they came from total obscurity. It was basically a cartel or cartels that made sure they became president of the United States to further an agenda that they had, and they did just that. Vietnam was a really good interest or a really good episode of it started with Eisenhower. Kennedy got it. Then Johnson came in, Nixon came in, and it finally ended. But how many? I think that there's $1.25 trillion we spent on that. We lost 59,000 people dead, countless missing. Not to mention the number of Vietnamese that were killed. And how much money did the corporate oligarchy make on that one before they decided to, turn off the steam, so to speak?
A lot.
People like you and I, that either participated in it or had friends that did, will never forget that. And I think the thing that I look back on is the pain and suffering and misery that thing caused. It basically tore this country apart. And who profited from it? Gary didn't profit. James didn't profit. Tom didn't profit from it. It did some things to me psychologically, and it took me about 2 years to get over them. But who really profits from that sort of thing?
Big business.
And I think that you look at the war in Afghanistan, people really need to start looking at the entire Middle East conflagration that we're involved in at $1.5 billion a week and rising, and ask what they're getting for their money.
Well, you know what? If it was me, I'd pull them all out of it. It's time we are no longer a police force, okay? If they don't want us there, why are we there? Again, why should the average person that works his ass off for his whole life have to sit there and be in poverty when they go and retire, or they have to wait till they're 70 years old to get actual amount of money to retire on?
That was the next point. I was going to bring up is that they're up in the ante on Social Security, so that they want you to wait until you're 70. You're going to be
yeah.
If you can make it that far, I think it'll be a minor miracle because with the costs rising, with social services being cut,
yeah.
Who's going to profit from all that? It's not the working person. It's not the taxpayer. They're paying the freight on all of it, and they're basically becoming more and more an economic slave to an oligarchy that does not care about them. They are basically a commodity, and they're totally expendable as far as that mindset is concerned, and they don't care.
And you're absolutely right. We need to go on break, and we'll be back in 2 minutes with Tom, with James, who's quiet as a mouse. And you're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio. When we get back, let's not talk political. Let's talk about what's going on about conspiracies with UFOs and aliens and what is happening. So we'll be talking about that when we get back right after this.